Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this bite-sized talk. It's wonderful to be able to connect with you through this chat, and it seems very appropriate that the first talk of this new year will reflect with you upon the significance of art, and in particular landscape and skyscape artworks during 2020. I'd like to begin by introducing you to some of the work my colleagues and I undertook following the cancellation of our spring 2020 exhibition, Skyscape. I'll also reflect on the artworks we chose to reopen our doors with in our summer exhibition, Welcome View, and finally I'd like to talk a little about a commission I undertook for the British Art Network during the autumn. This also saw me reflect on new ways of working as a team, but also on the importance and impact of landscapes, skyscapes and cityscapes whilst we were all struggling with new restrictions. Despite closures and cancellations, there was definitely a determination amongst our team to reach out to our visitors and community with valuable content. With the cancellation of our Ashmolean touring exhibition, Skyscape, which had been due to open in the City Gallery on the 4th of April, I really wanted to find a way to bring the exhibition content to our visitors in some fashion. But as well as this, I also wanted to have the opportunity to work with our front of house team, who would obviously be missing the opportunity to connect with people in the gallery, as they usually do so well. With the kind help of the Ashmolean Museum, I was able to share an image of one of the exhibition artworks with my colleagues each week. Alongside this, I was also able to share the exhibition label, which provided a little more information about the artwork and the artist. Each week, I asked my colleagues to respond to the artwork creatively, in any way they felt moved to do, and in return was treated to a host of beautiful artworks, poems, photographs and thought pieces. I've included some of these in the responses in this presentation, which I really hope you're enjoying. I must say it was eye-opening to see the creative skills of our front of house team really come to the fore. It was lovely to interpret artworks together like this, when our normal working practice would usually see us undertake quite separate roles when working towards an exhibition. Working together in this way really helped to establish a working pattern during those first uncertain weeks. The Skyscape exhibition represents over 500 years of artistic representations of the sky, from early works by artists such as Dürer, which really stamped the authority of the divine upon the heavens, to later emotive pieces from artists such as Turner, which reflected innovative new techniques and the development of landscape as an art genre in its own right. Exploring a seemingly timeless subject, looking up, taking photographs, creating artworks, noticing cloud formations, admiring sunsets, welcoming dawns. Something in the longevity of this art genre and the boundless nature of the sky really offered a very therapeutic distraction and a comfort when things seemed to be changing beyond recognition. Our digital marketing wizards were able to create a wonderful online exhibition page through which we could share the weekly artwork with our visitors alongside its label. Please do have a look at this if you haven't already. I've included a link to the website and you can access the online exhibition through the Collections tab. We also began a social media series called Skyscape Sunday, through which we also shared the artworks and encouraged people to respond with their own skyscapes, photographs of the landscape around them. I became addicted to trying to capture the perfect sunset. My colleague Angela pointed out a lovely quote from John Ruskin, in which he describes his endless attempts to bottle the sky. I very much had my Ruskin moment during the spring. So stepping away from Skyscape for the time being, and of course during the summer we were allowed a brief respite in which we were allowed to reopen our doors and welcome visitors back into the gallery with our Welcome View exhibition. Welcome View was a wonderful treat. We were so happy to be able to work on and offer a physical exhibition, particularly one which saw such gems from the art collection make it onto the walls. Of course, the exhibition was dictated logistically by social distancing, with some artworks having been deemed too heavy or too small for our exhibition text to install safely. But this really only served to create something really completely appropriate to the moment. This is a wonderful photo of two of the members of our exhibition team working to take down the Georgian exhibition, which some of you may have been able to enjoy at the start of the year, ready to install Welcome View. Our Welcome View exhibition was born out of the understanding that both staff and visitors were craving distraction and familiarity. I imagine many of you will recognise those artworks I've included in these few slides, perhaps have your own memories of seeing them in the gallery on a past visit, or perhaps you just recognise the view or are familiar with some of the aspects of the artwork. My colleagues on the gallery desk said that they had so many lovely comments from visitors. Thank goodness you're open again. Thank you for keeping going. These really stuck in my mind. It was obviously with a sense of relief that visitors reminded themselves of the county views that they so loved. This view of Worcester by W.S. Lloyd was one of the visitors' favourites. Familiar buildings, the reminder of Worcester's long history and survival and thriving, a cosy warmth to the colour and the tone and the promise of hustle and bustle, definitely one of my favourites too. The words beloved and treasure spring to mind. These county landscapes and cityscapes, these are the scenes which many of us feel a connection to and a pride in, a real sense of place and belonging. And here with another old favourite, H. Lyne's British Camp and Herefordshire Beacon. I remember writing an article about this artwork following the first lockdown in spring, and I think I chose it because it seems like the antithesis of 2020, with no reminders of the very human problems that faced us. I think that landscape really tapped into our sense of space and unrestricted movement. Whilst I think it's fair to say portraiture encourages us to reflect on the sense of self, landscape, I think, can encourage us to place ourselves amongst something that's bigger than ourselves. Perhaps you disagree, but I feel that you draw a different kind of strength from a landscape than that of a portrait. Something to do with longevity again, perhaps. Particularly with skyscapes, vast swathes of colour and sweeping shapes really encourage you to sort of lounge and soak in colour. But also these punctuations on the skyline or details in the landscape draw your imagination should you wish to indulge it. And I think our mental well-being needs a mixture of these things, both stimulus and the ability to avoid it. E.W. Waite's beautiful hawthorn blossom here, another favourite with visitors to the Welcome View exhibition, and it was lovely to be able to connect our visitors to this and other artworks during lockdown using various activities and research from our curatorial team. If ever a painting were to speak of hope, this would be it. Spring will come and flowers will bloom. The gallery staff said that visitors particularly enjoyed looking for the kingfisher. I wonder if you've spotted this before, if you're familiar with the work. So moving on to September now, and a project from the British Art Network, which brought me full circle to reflect on my earlier work with Skyscape. I'm a relatively new member of the British Art Network, but I have found it a really wonderful tool for learning from other members of the cultural community and really feeling connected to professionals from all stages of their career. It's been very inspiring. Landscape in Lockdown, the project from the British Art Network Landscape subgroup, saw both myself and artist Siobhan McLaughlin commissioned to create work which reflected our different experiences with landscape and our relationship with it during the first lockdown. You can see an image of Siobhan's wonderful commissioned work here, and I include a link in the next slide which you can follow to learn more about her and her work. My commissioned thought piece is called Going Out and Looking Up in Lockdown, and it looks back on my weekly routine with my colleagues and the way in which it helped me to cope. We had become used to our square rooms, the square views from our square windows, the squares on our phone screens, the squares on our Zoom calls, Our natural world, so often unsquare and squiggly, became of paramount importance, with everyone gardening and growing, walking, foraging, and watching Monty Don. Landscapes and skyscapes offered us vistas and horizons, a connection to other places and other people, at once a sense of belonging and stability, but also a glimpse of escape and the chance to meander. I mention in my article that research has suggested that regularly experiencing the colours of a sunset has a measurable effect on a person's mental well-being, on their gratitude and their empathy, and I think that historically, artistic responses to the sky have really tapped into these emotions. The article was a wonderful opportunity to reflect on the strength that I had found in working with art through a difficult period, and it was only really when I sat down to write that I realised quite how much I would have struggled without this focus. I was fortunate enough to enjoy an evening event hosted by the British Art Network landscape subgroup, at which I was able to chat a bit more about my commission. I've included a link to this talk here on the presentation, so please do head over to that if you'd like to learn more about the Landscape in Lockdown project. Siobhan's talk was a wonderfully thought-provoking insight into her working practice and motivation, so please do follow the link and have a look at our work. We will be offering a talk about skyscape a little later in the spring, so please do keep a lookout on our website for more details of this if you'd like to learn more about the artworks that form the skyscape exhibition. Thank you so much for joining, for watching and listening, and I hope that you found this reflective approach a positive one. I really hope it will encourage you to think a little more about the ways in which your own landscape, your own skyscapes, influence and inspire you.